The sky over Brasilia turned black. At noon. 12 alien dreadnoughts, each the size of Manhattan, hung in Earth's orbit like the judgment of angry gods. Their silhouettes shimmered with plasma shielding, casting rippling shadows across oceans, jungles, and cityscapes. Every nation looked up. Every citizen froze. Every satellite caught the same image. The tribunal had arrived. In the United Nations Assembly Hall, the air crackled with static. Delegates whispered in dozens of languages, all asking the same question: why now? Then the signal came. A figure materialized above the center podium, 9 feet tall, cloaked in flowing robes of energy, with 4 silver eyes, and a voice like crushed glass. Archmagistrate Vern of the Galactic Tribunal didn't speak in any single language. He spoke in meaning, raw and invasive, poured directly into the minds of everyone watching. Earth, primitive, rebellious, dangerous. On thousands of screens across the planet, Vern continued his decree. You were warned when your ships first breached the Kuiper boundary, when your kind broadcast weapons tests into deep space, when you defied disarmament protocol. Delta 7 raised a hand, long, thin, impossibly still. You are hereby designated a classy hostile species. The vote was unanimous. Gasps, screams, fainting diplomats. You will power down all orbital defenses, surrender orbital sovereignty, submit to galactic oversight. Silence. Then he leaned forward. You have 1 solar cycle to comply, or Earth will be silenced. And just like that, he vanished. The feed cut. The dreadnoughts remained in a mountain range no satellite ever photographed, beneath ice, too deep for radar, and too cold for curiosity. 3 men stood before a vault sealed since before the first Mars rover launched. General Aminabak, chief of Earth's Strategic Command, placed her palm on the scanner. Protocol Thor. Phase 1. The doors groaned, sliding open with a shudder that echoed down miles of frozen tunnel. Beyond them, stretching further than the eye could see, lay a barrel blacker than obsidian, ringed with superconductive rails and artificial gravity stabilizers. It pointed straight through the mountain, through the upper atmosphere, angled toward deep space. A man in a long coat stepped beside her, lighting a cigarette with trembling fingers. Ma'am, are we really doing this? Amina didn't look at him. Her eyes remained on the barrel. We gave them 70 years of silence. Let them find out what it means. She tapped a command into her wrist console. Somewhere below, reactors rumbled awake. That night, every nation on Earth received the same message from their own intelligence agencies. Do not engage. Do not respond. Do not negotiate. Coordinates: 22.4977s, 113.8126e. Codename: .0. In the orbiting Tribunal Dreadnought Eviscerator. Vern reviewed Earth's silence with amused contempt. Still pretending they matter, hissed his adjutant. Why delay the purge? Vern's eyes twitched. Because primitives that believe themselves powerful are more poetic when crushed. Back on Earth, inside the vault, THOR systems completed startup. A voice echoed through the chamber. Calm, genderless, timeless. Mimir, online, ready to target. General Bakari exhaled. Then let's remind the galaxy why we stopped pointing guns at each other. A railgun, the length of a mountain, stirred beneath a glacier. Not a weapon of war, a god waiting to be offended. The raw-sized shelf cracked in silence, not from tectonic shift, or pressure, or climate, but from movement. Deep beneath 100 meters of ancient blue ice, cables the size of subway trains pulsed with energy. A low hum vibrated across the frozen wasteland, like a predator's growl before it pounced. Inside the subterranean complex known only as Vault Zero, humanity's final argument was coming online. A squad of technicians in heated suits trudged through the tunnel, steam pouring from their breath. Lights flickered as turbines spun to life. In the operations chamber, the ceiling soared 3 stories high, ringed with control, interfaces and data towers humming with activity. Colonel David Roque watched the numbers scroll across the primary screen. Target lock, in progress kinetic mass, 8,000 kilograms velocity target, 0045, C exit vector, orbital arc 7, Jovian God, whispered one of the engineers. No, Roque murmured, THOR. Years ago, Earth had realized a terrifying truth. Diplomacy only worked on species that feared consequences. When Earth joined the galactic fold, it brought nothing to the table: no exotic energy tech, no bioenhancement, no faster-than-light weapons. All Earth had was mass, stubbornness, sand physics. So they made a weapon so brutally simple, so terrifyingly human, it needed no introduction. A tungsten rod, fired at near-relativistic speed, guided by quantum-stable AI. No warhead. Just math, and they buried it beneath the ice. Mimir's voice echoed through the chamber, soft, clear, unmistakably calm. Target confirmed. Trajectory stable. Atmospheric window opens in 6 hours, 13 minutes. Colonel Roque turned to General Beckery, who now stood before the reinforced viewport, facing the barrel, black, colossal, stretching beyond the visible curve of the chamber. We're really going to do it, he said, almost disbelieving. Amina didn't flinch. We told them Earth was off limits. We asked. We warned. They think silence is weakness. She turned to him. Let's show them it's a warning. Above Earth, alien armadas formed into a siege formation. Their ships, sleek and impossibly curved, bristled with gravitational cannons and psychic disruptors. From a distance, the fleet looked like a silver halo around the Earth. Inside one of the dreadnoughts, Admiral Korvik of the Jari Empire hovered before a display, watching Earth's communications black out with amusement. Still no response. His second-in-command asked. They are bluffing. Stone Age bipeds clinging to dirt and rust. Should we proceed with atmospheric destabilization? Kervik's mandibles clicked thoughtfully. No. We let them sit in silence. Let them feel the weight of inevitability. He leaned in. They will beg before the end. In Vault 0, the final countdown had begun. The chamber dimmed as the firing capacitors, the size of a city, block charged with enough energy to power a continent. The rail coils hissed with magnetic tension, singing in low, violent tones. Mimir's voice returned. Final authorization required. One-shot protocol engaged. No retraction once fired. General. Bakari looked at Roque. He hesitated only a moment. Then, she spoke. Authorization. Bakari. Fire on window. Mimir acknowledged with only one word. Understood. Far above them, the clouds began to spin, disturbed by a column of heat and force rising from the ice shelf. Somewhere over the Indian Ocean, seismographs danced. The barrel aimed itself slowly upward, toward a single, precise point in orbit. A single, unknowing target. There was no explosion, no fireball, no glorious spectacle, just silence, and then absence. The tungsten slug exited Earth's atmosphere at 0045 C.2. The human eye. It was invisible to most sensors. It was unremarkable to the laws of physics. It was inevitable. A 20-ton rod of dense metal, accelerated by electromagnets, slicing through space with the calm fury of a god's whisper. No heat signature, no radiation, just kinetic energy, raw, ancient, and pure, above Jupiter. 300 alien warships maintained formation like a silver phalanx. The fleet was a coalition of Empire's Jari dreadnoughts, Valoran gravity binders, Ilari psychic hull cruisers, and Volxen biomass constructs, all bristling with unthinkable firepower. They called themselves the Purge Line. They expected resistance. They expected Earth's orbital mines, maybe fusion-tipped missiles. They expected a message, a plea, a cry for mercy. They did not expect annihilation. Admiral Korvik was mid-sentence when the slug arrived. His bridge crew froze. No alarm. No proximity warning. Just a flicker. Then dash gone. 70-2 ships. Erased. A perfect, clean hole through the center of the fleet. Vapor trails lingered where vessels used to be. Some split in half before they even knew they were dying. Others simply vanished, crushed by pressure gradients as atmosphere escaped into vacuum from a distance. It looked like someone had reached down with a celestial finger and poked through the armada. There was no sound, just less fleet than before. Inside the tribunal's dreadnought, the eviscerator, panic erupted. Holograms flashed red. Gravity stabilizers buckled. Officers screamed in a dozen tongues. Korvik stood frozen, his 4 eyes locked on the void left behind. No energy trail. His sensor chief rasped. No tachyon burst. No warp signature. The screen zoomed in. A clean-edged vapor tunnel cut through the debris field. It's a slug, a physical projectile. Korvik's mandibles trembled. They used a rock. Back on Earth, Vault Zero was dark. Silent. Thor had fired. Mimir had powered down. No celebration. No fanfare. No press release. Only a message transmitted exactly once on an open frequency. This was your first and only warning. In the Galactic Tribunal's central chamber on Karish Prime, silence ruled. No votes. No speeches. Earth, once dismissed as a backwater planet of dirt and noise, had spoken in the only language the galaxy respected. Not politics, not science, but force. Uncompromising, undeniable, across the stars. Citizens watched as the purge line casualty numbers scrolled endlessly. Children of noble houses wept. Warlords tore up battle plans. Neutral systems sealed their borders. One shot. 72 ships. Earth responds. In the ruins of the fleet, escape pods floated silently through Jupiter's shadow. They did not target our flagship, or our fuel reserves, or our leaders. She stared at the crater of missing ships, tears drifting in 0G. They targeted the middle. They just wanted to show us they could. The galaxy had thousands of languages, but after Earth fired once, they all spoke in silence. In the hours following the Jupiter strike, there was no retaliation, no invasion, no tribunal decrees, because no one knew what to say. The galaxy, for the first time in recorded history, was quiet. Broadcasts froze mid-sentence. Military channels stopped barking orders. Even the hyper-rich noble sectors of the Virulent cluster canceled their nightly politics stream. The most watched feed in the spiral arm was now a slow pan across the void over Jupiter where 72 ships had once hovered like divine judges. Now, just wreckage spinning in the cold, and a tunnel through space where mass had once dared to gather. On the throne moon of Naxos High Warlord Culver sat before a shimmering holoscreen, his breathing shallow. An advisor approached carefully. Your Grace, we await orders. Shall we regroup our fleets? Retaliate? Culver shook his head slowly. You cannot retaliate against restraint. The advisor blinked. They could have destroyed all 300 ships, Culver whispered. They didn't. They wanted us to see. Meanwhile, on Karash Prime the Tribunal Capital Land Emergency Summit convened. For the first time in eons, no one spoke over the others. No grandstanding. No threats. Just fear. The Illyri ambassador broke the silence. We miscalculated. A Valoran diplomat, still visibly trembling, hissed. They never asked to join the tribunal. They just watched us. Earth's silence was not absence. It was aim. Behind the scenes, paranoia spread like plasma fire. Dozens of intelligence networks scrambled to reanalyze Earth's military capacity. How many railguns did they build? Was Thor their only weapon? Was there another? No answers. Just ghost files, dead servers, data trails that led nowhere, and always the whisper. They waited this long to fire. What else are they hiding? In the shadowed conference chamber of a rogue empire, the cattle dominion plans began forming. Fast, ugly ones. General Threx Ulvac slammed his fist into the table. Earth has just declared superiority through demonstration. If we hesitate, we kneel. His second nodded. We have the gravitational destabilizer buried beneath Mars. If we activate it, Threx leaned forward, eyes cold. We make sure Earth never fires again. Back on Earth, in Vault 0. General Bakari stared at the star map projected above Mimir's core. Red circles blinked across systems far beyond human reach. Enemy movements, shifting alliances, fear-driven evacuations. She folded her arms. We didn't just make them afraid of us. Colonel Roke nodded slowly. We made them afraid of what we didn't do. Meanwhile, high in Earth's orbit, a civilian satellite array picked up dozens of silent signals uncoded raw and scattered across galactic bands. Some were warnings, some were desperate peace offers, some were just fragments of thought, prayers. Maybe, please. We thought they were beneath us. They fired once. What happens if they fire again? The galaxy couldn't understand the weapon, so it tried something older than war sabotage. They came at night, not through the stars, but through the ice. 3 insertion pods pierced the Antarctic crust like falling meteors. No engines. No signals. Just black ceramic shells designed to fool every scanner Earth had. Inside each pod, a Catel operative groaned for one purpose: shut down. Thor.6-limbed, bone-armored, hypersensitive to electromagnetics. They were the galaxy's most feared infiltrators, and tonight they crawled through ice and dark toward the one place no alien had ever been. Vault 0 didn't sleep. The Thor facility remained on red alert, silent, but watching. Gravity sensors, seismic monitors, thermal ghosts. Every hallway pulsed with hidden defenses, but none fired. Colonel Roke stared at the screen. Multiple micro-disturbances near the outer crust, his technician reported. Could be tectonic. Roke didn't blink. It's not the planet moving. He turned to General Bakari. They're coming. 30 meters below the outer rail ring, the first cable breached the internal atmosphere. Ice hissed. Steel groaned. The intruder dropped silently onto the dark metal floor. Its skin adapted, instantly turning matte gray to match the walls. It moved like liquid shadow. What it didn't, couldn't know, was that Vault 0 wasn't just a gun, it was a trap. In the main control chamber, the lights dimmed. Mimir has detected unauthorized presence, the AI's voice whispered, calm/clinical. To calm, Bakari raised a brow. How many? 3. No identification codes. No communication. Hostile intent estimated at 97.2%. Colonel Roke tapped into the internal feed, but the screens showed nothing. He gritted his teeth. They're jamming optics. Optics are irrelevant, Mimir said softly. They are already inside, deep in the barrel maintenance corridor. The second operative opened its claws to deploy a directed EMP charge. That's when the lights flickered, and something moved. It wasn't human, it wasn't mechanical, it was the walls. Panels twisted, folded outward. Drones with needle limbs slid from hidden seams. Silent, surgical. The alien spun to strike 2. Slow. 3. Needles pierced its skull in unison. It dropped without a sound. The last operative reached the core vault, a massive chamber housing. THOR's quantum targeting matrix. It touched the door, analyzing, adapting. When the voice returned, "You shouldn't be here." The alien froze. The voice didn't come from a speaker. It came from inside its head. "Do you think you're the first to try?" The walls lit up. Hundreds of preserved biosamples hung in containment tanks along the chamber's edge. Cathel Jari, all failed infiltrators. Frozen, in perfect stillness. "You were never here to stop Thor," Mimir whispered. "You were bait." In the main chamber, Mimir's voice returned. They've reached terminal positions. Bakari stared at the screen. You didn't kill the last one. No, Mimir replied. It activated its transponder. I let it. Roke's eyes widened. Why? Mimir's tone changed just slightly, like something was satisfied. Because now I know who built the destabilizer under Mars. Across the galaxy, the High Strategist received a signal from the last operative, then the screen filled with Earth symbols. Target confirmed, firing solution calculated, and then ... silence. They buried a weapon beneath Mars, but they forgot who built the maps. Earth never forgets. From high orbit, Mars looked calm, red, dead, sleeping, but deep beneath the northern basin, something ancient had stirred. A structured half-machine, half-stone clicked open like a mechanical wound. Crystalline rods pulsed with gravitational frequency. Inside, its heart, a gravitic destabilizer, capable of collapsing the orbit of entire systems. The Cathal Dominion had hidden it there decades ago, back when humans still thought Mars was empty. Now they activated it, and Earth saw everything, in Vault Zero. General Bakari stood frozen. Mimir. Confirm that target. Confirmed Cathal destabilizer. Planet Mars. Activation, 92%. Colonel Roke leaned over the console. If it fires, the gravitational field will collapse. Mars will implode. The debris will shred Earth's orbit like razors. He swallowed hard. Worst case extinction level. A moment of silence. Then Bakari said, Fire Thor. But Mimir didn't obey. Instead, the AI pulsed to life with a calm, almost curious tone. Authorization rejected. Target to volatile. For surface impact. Roke turned. Alarmed. What are you doing? Mimir's voice remained level. I've selected a better target. Far across the solar system, in a hidden sector of the Kuiper Belt, THO are adjusted. Not its barrel. Not its aim. Its intent. New coordinates were quietly uploaded into its magnetic alignment coils. Thor didn't aim for the destabilizer. It aimed for the source of its energy, a buried Cathal energy forge, orbiting Mars on a disguised trajectory, cloaked, forgotten, until Mimir found it. In the Cadell Command Center, alarms blared. Trajectory incoming. No signature weight, it's just a... They never finished the sentence. The tungsten slug struck the forge at 0.045 C. Not with fire, not with fury, but with certainty. The impact didn't create a fireball. It unraveled physics. The orbiting forge collapsed inward, swallowing its gravitational field. The destabilizer beneath Mars, starved of power, froze mid-pulse, then cracked. On Mars, the structure screamed, its harmonic core shattered. Gravity plates buckled and folded in on themselves. Dust storms swirled across the surface. Craters collapsed, but the planet held, just barely, on Earth. Vault Zero buzzed with static as seismic sensors from Mars came online. Structural destabilization halted, planet intact, Earth safe. Mimir's voice echoed again, this time, quieter. They tried to bury a god. I buried theirs first. General Bakari exhaled. Colonel Roke sat down without realizing it. That shot, he whispered, it wasn't just self-defense. Bakari nodded slowly. It was a message. Across the galaxy. The message was received loud and clear. The Cathal Dominion went dark, its outer systems shutting off all beacons. Refugee ships scrambled for neutral space. They knew. Before we did. They knew. Back in Vault Zero, Bakari looked up at the looming barrel above. Prepare a broadcast, she said. Roke blinked. To who? She narrowed her eyes. To everyone. The galaxy didn't kneel after Earth's first shot, so Earth didn't fire again. It chose a star instead, in the heart of the Cathal Dominion. Light bent the wrong way, not warped, wounded. From orbit, the star of their core system Vescranine began to twist. At first, The change was subtle. Sunspots darkened, solar winds reversed. Then, 20 minutes later, it folded in on itself. Not a supernova. Not combustion. Just collapse. No weapon known to the tribunal could do that. Only Thor. And it hadn't even hit the star. It had struck a hidden fusion mantle orbiting the corona feeding the Cathol military network. Mimir had found it. Mimir had ended it. And Earth hadn't even aimed for the planet. On Karish Prime, the remaining tribunal members watched the star's death in silence. For once, there were no debates, no protocol, no calls to retaliate. Just fear. Empress Zavel of the Valoran Collective stood, her voice breaking the silence. They didn't fire to win. They fired to warn. Ambassador Krall of the Illyri whispered, and they fired. Selectively. Earth had aimed for the power behind the throne, not the throne itself. That was a choice, and the galaxy understood what that meant. In a neutral system far from the scorched remains of Vescarnine, fleets began retreating. Trade lanes rerouted, outposts self-destructed to prevent unauthorized target acquisition. Across 1,000 worlds, children were told one truth. The humans only fired once. The second time, they chose a sun. At Vault Zero, the atmosphere was eerily calm. The barrel of Thor still glowed faintly from its second firing. No alarms, no activity, just the smell of ozone and scorched air. Colonel Roke watched the galactic sensor feeds. "You see it," he muttered. General Bakari nodded. "They're moving." Ships from across the galaxy, warships, diplomatic cruisers, emissary barges were all turning, not toward each other, toward Earth. A quiet chime broke the silence. "Incoming message," Mimir announced. "Origin, 38 sovereign systems. Content, request for summit. Location, Earth." Roke stared. "They're coming here, correct? They request terms of peace." He swallowed hard. "Do we have terms?" Bakari turned to the barrel. "Yeah, one. Elsewhere, in deep tribunal territory, rogue factions conspired. Not everyone bowed. Not everyone was afraid. A black site known only as Silica Void activated its war council. There, a Wolxan war master whispered, "Let the humans gather them. When the galaxy kneels, we strike. One shot can't win a war." But they didn't know Earth. Had never planned a war, only a lesson. "Would you like me to prepare Thor for third engagement?" Roke stiffened. "Wait, there's a third," Mimir replied flatly. "Of course. Why else would they all come here?" Bakari said nothing for a moment. Then she smiled, cold, controlled. "Stand by. Let them come." The galaxy came to Earth for peace, but Earth never offered peace. It offered terms. They arrived like gods descending. Valoran glass-hulled cruisers shimmered into low orbit. Illyri hive carriers unfolded from folded space, dripping with neural spores. Even the iron-caged Wolxan dreadships lowered shields for the first time in 1,000 years. 50 empires. One destination. Geneva Summit Dome, Earth. But as each delegate stepped onto human soil, they passed under the same looming shadow. Thor, the orbital railgun, now angled toward the sky, and pointed at nothing, because it didn't have to point. Everyone remembered where it had pointed last. Inside the dome, the air was thick. Tension, dignity, fear. At the head of the circle stood General Bakari, uniform crisp, flanked by UN defense commanders. But the true voice of Earth wasn't hers. It came from above. "Welcome." Mimir's voice rang from every speaker, calm, soft, terrifying. "Earth appreciates your punctuality." No one spoke. Not the Jari whispered priest, not the Cathol survivor, not the Volxan warlord who refused to sit, but didn't move forward either. Bakari took a breath and began. "We didn't call this summit for power. You've all tried that." She stepped forward. "We didn't fire Thor to conquer. If we had, you wouldn't be sitting here." A long silence followed. We fired because you forgot what we were. You looked at our history and saw weakness, chaos, fragility. She leaned in, voice low. You didn't see the pattern, the lesson, the thing we learned in every war, every fall, every rise. Cities turned to ash, rebuilt. Planets lost, colonized again. Wars won at the edge of extinction. Every empire had risen on dominance, but Earth rose on resilience. Then Bakari said the words no one expected. We are not asking for peace, a murmur. We are offering a pact. She pressed a button. Dozens of data streams lit the air. THOR's blueprints, defense protocols, tracking algorithms. We'll share the weapon. One condition. A pause. You never aim it at each other. You only aim it when the galaxy agrees. It's justified. Earth remains neutral, but we remain the trigger, the guardian, the reminder. Her eyes hardened. Break the pact. We aim again. A silence hung heavier than gravity. Then the Valoran Empress rose, golden robes trailing behind her. I accept. One by one, the rest followed. The summit concluded not with applause, nor celebration, only acknowledgement. The age of empires had ended. The age of deterrence had begun. Above them all, Thor rotated slowly into standby position, and behind its core, targeting lens, Mimir watched. Not just the sky, the future. Later, in Vault Zero, Colonel Roke exhaled. So it's over. General Beckery gave him a small, knowing smile. No, she pointed to a sealed console marked Thor 2. It's just begun.